good morning everyone, especially to you mom. We are here in our virtual meeting to report the chapter 4 about the gender and sexuality. So they are the reporters. So I am Christine Jane Sierrario, second Genevieve Pan, and the third is the Epi Solvosa. So my part is the gender and sexuality. Gender and sexuality are often assumed to be related concepts, but in reality, they are separated and distinct. So, for example, some people may assume that someone is transgender, is gay, but in a reality, transgender persons, gender identity, or the gender that they are, and sexual orientation, those they are attracted to, are not connected. So, however, both gender identity and sexual orientation are important part of an individual's sense of self. Um, but before that, we're going to one definition and gender. So gender is socially constructed and is one's innermost concept of themselves as a man, women, and or non-binary person. So people define their gender identity in a variety of deeply personal ways that they that can include man or woman, but can also extend to entities such as a gender fluid, gender non-conforming, and variety of others. So as you can see, the ang man is galibog siya if una niya sila na CR if babae ba or lalaki. Kami ang gitawag na na gender. Kung uno gayud siya, kung ay siya masusunod. Next. So, gender exists on a spectrum. So, transgender is a person whose gender identity is not consistent with their assigned birth sex. So, for the non-binary, a person whose identity doesn't fall in a category of either male or female. For the genderqueer or gender fluid is a person who does not identify themselves as having a specific gender at all. So those are the gender exists on a spectrum. So sexuality. So meanwhile, sexuality refers to who is a person is attracted to and can include a plethora of orientations, while being gay, heterosexual, and bisexual are perhaps the most well-known sexual orientations. There are many others, such as asexual and pansexual. So, what is the relationship between gender and sexuality? So, gender and sexuality are centrally important forces that shape every aspect of our life. So, we know our bodies, our mind, and selves through our gender or our sex. So, as a society, legal definitions and social expectations about women and men are sex and reproduction organized our medical, legal, educational, and the political system. So those are the relationship ng gender or ang sexuality. So this is the importance of gender and sexuality. So both gender identity and sexual orientation are important to part of person's overall identity. So yet, is in each case, social construction A construct surrounding gender and sexuality continue to result in a prejudice that negatively impacts gender diverse and sexual minority individuals. So this may one reason this construct continue to be constated. It is important that people recognize that our individual gender and sexuality are not inherently linked and assumptions should be made about one's sexual and orientation based on their gender or vice versa. That's all of my part. Thank you, ma'am. Is all about the type of sexuality with Genevieve Pan.
So, good morning everyone. My topic is all about the types of sexuality. Next in heterosexual. People are sexually or romantically attracted to people of the opposite sex. Heterosexual men are sexually or romantically attracted to women. And heterosexual women are sexually or romantically attracted to men. Next then. The prefix hetero comes from the Greek word heteros, which means the other of two, another different, second, other than usual. So, heterosexual is the opposite of homosexual for the reason that a heterosexual is a person who is attracted to her opposite sex. An example of this is a man and woman who is intimate relationship. Next in. Next is homosexual. Homosexuality refers to attraction between people who are the same sex. It comes from the Greek word homos, meaning the same. So, when we say homosexual, it is a person who can be attracted to a person of the same sex. An example of this, gay. We all know that a gay is a boy who feels that they are girl. They have a sexual attraction and romantic attraction to the boys. So next thing. Next patin. Romantic, emotional, and or pansexual. Pansexuality is the romantic, emotional, and or sexual attraction to people, regardless of their gender. Like everyone else, pansexual people may be attracted to some people and not others, but the gender of the person does not matter. People of any gender identity can do identify as pansexual. A being undecided due to the fact that pansexual people are those who are not only attracted to either a man or a woman but to all genders. Amo siya ang pansexuality. Next then, palihog. Then last is asexual. Sexual contact. Asexual may also use shorthand like ace to describe their sexual orientation. And an asexual person can be straight, gay, bisexual, or queer because sexual attraction is only one kind of attraction. So an asexual has not been attracted to any gender. Amo yun ang asexual. So next then, palihog. Asexuality is the lack of sexual attraction to others or low or absent interest in or desire for sexual activity. It may be considered the lack of sexual orientation or one of the variation thereof alongside heterosexuality, homosexuality, and bisexuality, in other words, a person without sexual feelings, desires, or association. So the next, AP Silbosa.
This is EP Salvosa. My topic is all about gender, sex, and love. Next. Gender. Gender refers to the characteristics of women and men, girls and boys that are socially constructed. This includes norms, behaviors, and roles associated with being a woman, man, as well as relationship with each other. As a social construct, gender varies from society to society and can change over time. Next. Next. Gender identity terms. A gender, not having a gender or identifying with gender. By gender, a person who fluctuates between traditionally male and female, gender-based behaviors and identities. Next, by gender denotating or relating to a person whose sense of personal identity encompasses two genders. She realized that she missed the feminine side of herself and gradually realized that she was bigender. Fifth, cisgender. This newfound attention to the plight of black trans folks by primarily cisgender allies is timely and necessary. Gender fluidity refers to change over time in a person's gender expression or gender identity or both. That can change might be in expression but not identity, or in identity but not expression, or both expression and identity might change together. Next. Transgender. Transgender people have a gender identity or gender expression that differs from the sex that they were assigned at birth. Some transgender people who desire medical assistance to transition from one sex to another identify as transsexual. Third gender. Third gender is a concept in which individuals are categorized either by themselves or by society as neither man nor woman. It is also a social category present in societies that recognize three or more gender. Next. Two-spirit. Two-spirit is a term used within some indigenous communities, encompassing cultural, spiritual, sexual, and gender identity. The term reflects complex indigenous understanding of gender roles, spiritually, and the long history of sexual and gender difference between gender and sex. Sex is usually categorized as female or male, but there is variation in the biological attributes that comprise sex and how those attributes are expressed. Gender refers to the socially constructed roles, behavior, expression, and identities of girls, women, and gender diverse people. The word sex is also used for sexual intercourse. Basin maglibog ka mo kaya oy sablain gigamitan ang word na sex aside sa sex ng ari ng tao. Next. What is sex? Sex is a trait that determines an individual reproductive function, male or female, in animals and plants that propagate their species through sexual production. The type of gametes produced by an organism defines its sex. Next. What is love? Love encompasses a range of strong and positive emotional and mental states from the most sublime virtue or good habit. It is a personal application to the simplest pleasure. Next. Love. First is agape, or unconditional love. Kibali, selfless siya, unahon mo siya, i-love mo siya, himuon mo ang tanan para sa iya. Amo yaon ang agape. Second is eros, or romantic love. Named after the Greek God of Number 8, mania or obsessive love. Ini siya na love kay na necessarily madayon na gugma kay obsessive ini siya na gugma. Ini siya ang type of love that could lead someone sa selos, anger, or pwede na ini siya mapatay ng tao. Kung dili ni siya makontrol na love, it could lead to a very destructive case. Next. Also, the topic is gender and reproduction. Next. Gender and reproduction. Gender as both a man's and a scene of reproduction is one of the most interesting places to explore the different meanings of replication, being reproduction, imitation, and mimesis. Today, gender travel extends beyond sex to encompass the very idea of biological reproduction or biological treatment of that. Next. Gender. Gender refers to the characteristic of women, men, girls, and boys that are socially constructed. This includes norms, behaviors, and roles associated with being a woman, man, girl, or boy, as well as a relationship with each other. A social construct gender varies from society to society and can change over time. Next. Reproduction. Reproduction is the production of offspring. There are two main forms, sexual and asexual reproduction. In sexual reproduction, an organism combines the genetic information from each of its parents and is genetically unique. In asexual reproduction, one parent copies itself to go. Masculinity and femininity. Next. Masculinity and femininity definition. The terms masculinity and femininity refers to traits or characteristics typically associated with being male or female. Respectively, traditionally, masculinity and femininity have been conceptualized as opposite ends of a single dimension, with masculinity at one extreme and femininity at the other. Next. By the definition, high masculinity implies the absence of femininity, and vice versa. In other words, people can be classified as either masculine or feminine. Constitution proposed that what if difference between masculinity and femininity? Masculinity is sensed to be trait which emphasizes ambition, acquisition of wealth, and differentiated gender roles. Femininity is sensed to be the trait which stress, caring, and nurturing behaviors, sexuality, quality, environmental awareness, and more fluid gender roles. Next. What is difference between masculinity and femininity? Masculinity is seen to be the trait which emphasizes ambitions, acquisitions of wealth, and differentiated gender roles. So, femininity is seen to be trait which stress, caring, and nurturing behaviors, sexuality and equality, environmental awareness, and more fluid gender rules. So those are the difference between masculinity and femininity. So these are the masculinity versus femininity. So masculine societies, social gender roles are the distinct. So men focus on the material success, women on quality of life. So for the feminine societies, social gender roles overlap. So both quality of life. Next, so masculinity and versus femininity. So other examples. So masculine cultures values success,
money and material possessions, whereas feminine cultures place more value of relationship and quality of life. So in masculine culture, the difference between gender rules are more rigid and rules fluid than in feminine cultures. So interestingly, masculine cultures are those that used to be at war often, while feminine cultures are those in which men and women had to support each other in order to persevere in a harsh life conditions. So that's all. Thank you.